Hey guys, Spruce Goose here. I thought I'd do something a little bit different today. Um, I asked members of the War Chest Online community to share some replays of games that they're proud of, and so that I could review the game and kind of commentate on it and maybe analyze it and talk about strategies and so on. So I'm looking at a game here sent to me by Vancho, and the game is against Elrond. Um, I haven't watched the game before. Um, I do know who won, but I won't say so as not to spoil it for you guys. Um, and if you have games that you'd like me to look at, feel free to share them on the Discord channel. You can either send them to me directly or you can share them on the videos channel. So I'm going to go ahead and just start watching it. I also want to say that when you watch a replay, you can use keyboard shortcuts. So you can actually use the forward arrow to go to the next move, previous arrow to go to the previous move, and so on. So yeah, that's just it makes it easier to watch replays. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start. Let's just review the starting units and the players. So the players are, we have Elrond, who's a very good player. I've played against him quite a few times, and we have Vancho, who I played against maybe just a few times. So I don't know too much about him. The units we have, so it looks like Elrond has slightly stronger units. He has the Berserker and he has the pikeman. The pikeman is actually a very good counter to the berserker, because it kind of negates the berserker's tactic. And the royal guard is also a strong unit, even if it's royal guard version 1. I'm sorry, version 2. So version 1 is obviously very strong, but version 2 is still strong in my opinion. And we have the footman, which is kind of like a middle of the way unit. In certain situations, it can be very strong. And Vancho has crossbowman, which is a very strong unit, cavalry, which is a strong unit, scout, which pretty much always guarantees you at least one base, and the archer, which I struggle with, but I've seen it played pretty well. So we're gonna start. Let's see. Okay, Vancho deploys a cavalry, and Elrond counters that with a royal guard. Now, the royal guard is quite a good unit to send against the cavalry because the cavalry has range, right? So it can attack a unit that's 2 spaces away, which means that it can get the jump on you, basically, kind of surprise you or catch you off guard. But the royal guard is quite resilient because it's very very hard to kill the royal guard. If you don't have the royal guard, another good strategy against the cavalry is actually to bolster your unit. So if you had a footman, for instance, if you had a bolstered footman, it would make it harder for the cavalry to actually kill your unit. Okay. So sorry. Okay, so Vancho recruits a cavalry. Elrond recruits a berserker. Vancho recruits a crossbowman. Okay. Footman deployed here. Cavalry moved here. Okay, so this is a pretty bad situation for Elrond because both of his bases are blocked and he cannot move any of his units off base. So this is what's called a bad second hand. but it's something I will usually take this risk. So I will usually try to deploy early on. If you want to avoid this situation, what you could do is you could just leave one of your bases open um, in the first round, and then in the second round you'll be able to know where you should be deploying. But it means your game will start a bit more slowly. Okay, so we see the cavalry moving forward. Elrond is using his coins to recruit now because obviously he cannot deploy anywhere. Crossbowman is deployed. Elrond recruits a berserker. Okay, so he recruited all of his berserkers. And now we have the scout deployed. Now, the scout is one of those units that you never want to see in your starting hand, in your opening hand, because if you get it in your second hand, it means you can usually capture a base in the first with your before you actually reshuffle the bag. So basically in one of the first 3 rounds. Okay. And another Royal Guard was recruited. Crossbowman moves forward. Royal Guard is going for this base. Okay. We have an archer being deployed, and the footman moves off base. So this is a pretty strong combination. Crossbowman and archer, they work quite well together. Because the archer covers kind of all the diagonal spaces, and the crossbowman covers all the orthogonal spaces. So they kind of complement each other. And usually when you play with the archer, you want to send it next to deploy it like next to a strong unit, right? Because the archer by himself is very vulnerable. But if the archer is always like next to a strong unit, it really helps the archer and the other unit as well. Okay, so now the scout is probably going to capture a base. Let's see. Yeah, scout captures a base. And now the berserker is going to be deployed somewhere, and he's going to start being bolstered. Okay. Cavalry moves here. Okay. We have a crossbowman being recruited, probably in response to the berserker being on this side of the board. And we have a Royal Guard on point. Now this berserker can be really useful in killing either the crossbowman or the cavalry. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay, cavalry captures a point. Berserker being stacked. Crossbowman being bolstered. And we have footman on point. So right now, Vancho is on 4 bases. This crossbowman should be able to capture this base. And really, most games are about which of your opponent's bases are you going to get, right? Because essentially, if you divide this board in 2, then you could say that these bases, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, belong to the white player, and these bases belong to the black player, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because they're closer to each player's home bases. So really, the fight is usually about which of the border bases, right? So we have 6 bases that are in the border. Which of those are you going to be able to steal from your opponent? That's in most cases. Obviously, there are exceptions. Okay, now the berserker moves forward, and he's probably going to stay there. So yeah, Elrond passes, and now let's see what happens. Now, the archer is quite a good unit to counter the Berserker in this situation, because if the crossbowman moves here, it means that the Berserker will not really be able to come any closer, because then the archer could just kill it. So let's see what happens. Okay, cavalry is the cavalry was bolstered. Elrond passes with the pikemen, which is an interesting play. I guess Elrond is hoping to deploy the pikemen on one of the forward bases rather than one of the home bases to provide some protection to those relatively vulnerable bases. Okay, the crossbowman is bolstered. Okay. Elrond passes, and now the crossbowman is on the point. In this case, I think it might have actually been okay to move the crossbowman here, because I don't think Elrond would have risked attacking the crossbowman, knowing that the archer is here. So, yeah, I don't know if it was necessary to bolster the triple bolster the crossbowman, but we'll see. Okay. Elrond passes with the other pikeman as well. It's usually a pretty bad sign if you pass twice on your turn. It's not a good sign. Okay, crossbowman moves on to the point, and now the Berserker moves on to the point. Now this is a pretty bad hand for Elrond because he doesn't have any Berserkers. Now Vancho doesn't know that, but if he did know that, or if he's willing to take the risk, he could now start attacking the Berserker. Because once you've even taken out a single Berserker, if you remove a single Berserker coin from the game, you've already significantly weakened the Berserker. Okay, let's see what happens. So now the Royal Guard was captured a point. Oh, okay. So Vancho took the risk and attacked the Berserker. This is a risk because if Elrond had a Berserker coin, he would have killed both of these cavalries. Okay. Elrond passes again with the pikeman. That pikeman has actually been pretty problematic for Elrond this game. Vancho moves the archer here, and Elrond claims the initiative. So obviously Elrond knows that oh, actually, I see what's going on. So Elrond was hoping to draw a Berserker coin. But unfortunately, both of his remaining Berserkers are in the bag. So this is the worst hand that he could have had. So this is what you would call really, really bad luck. Okay, Royal Guard moves forward. Cavalry attacks the Berserker and moves closer toward the home bases. And the footman captures the base. So we're now even, we're tied on 4 bases to both players. This base is guaranteed pretty much to be the white team's base. And now we're going to see the pikemen finally deployed somewhere, hopefully. Okay, so pikeman was deployed on the home base. This could have been done a long time ago, of course. Berserker will probably be deployed here somewhere. And let's see what happens with the scout. Okay. Now, the scout was moved here, but actually, it might be good at this point to bolster the scout because when you bolster units, it means you make your bag smaller, and it makes it easier for you to control which units you're going to draw. So I would probably have bolstered the scout at this point and kind of help him and basically help use the scout to protect this base. Now, the advantage of moving the scout here is that this puts pressure on Elrond because now he stands to lose this base to the scout. Okay, we have 2 berserkers. Let's see what happens. Okay, berserker was deployed. This crossman captures a base, and now the berserker attacks the scout. So this is pretty good for Elrond, because it means that he could potentially go for this base, because this base is kind of unprotected now. Okay, cavalry moves on to the point, and Elrond recruited a footman, and Vancho claimed the initiative. So Vancho claimed the initiative hoping to draw a cavalry, but he didn't. Okay, so now he's delaying with the scout. If he hadn't done that, then Elrond would have been able to flip a base. Instead, oh, this is interesting. I wasn't expecting that. So Elrond is going, the Royal Guard is going to try and kill the cavalry. We'll see what happens. Okay, Vancho passes. The Royal Guard attacks the cavalry. And then the crossman moves into position next to the cavalry, so that if the cavalry dies, the crosswoman could move in and claim the base. And now Elrond claims the initiative. Now, the reason Elrond claimed the initiative in this case was that if he hadn't, then Vancho would have won for sure, because as you can see, he drew cavalry coins, and Elrond would have been able to know that, because he should be able to know that Vancho has a relatively small bag, and that he is likely to draw a cavalry. So it was definitely the right play to claim the initiative here, because it buys Elrond more time. And here we go. So the Royal Guard kills the cavalry. Now, it was not a sure thing. It was not guaranteed that Elrond would have drawn a Royal Guard, right? Because he has 1 coin in the bag, which is probably a footman. Yeah, he has 1 footman in the bag. And he has 2, 4, 5, 6 units that will go into the bag as well. So he had something like a 1 in 3 chance of drawing a Royal Guard. But he did, and he was able to delay Vancho from capturing this base. A new cavalry is going to be deployed here. That footman moving here, that's obviously a risky play. Cavalry kills the footman. Elrond recruits another footman. So probably what I would have done is probably bolster the footman at this point. Not that it would make a huge difference, because the footman is very vulnerable to both the crossbowmen and the cavalry. So yeah, this is a pretty bad spot to be if you're the footman. Okay. Elrond recruited another footman. And now this is the interesting bit, because this Royal Guard can move on to the point, and he can survive 2 blows because there's 2 Royal Guards into supply. Cavalry moves on to the point. He's probably going to be able to flip this base and win the game. Footman is deployed. Okay, crossman attacks the Royal Guard, and Elrond moves on from the supply. Elrond recruits another footman. This is looking very bad for Elrond. Crossman attacks another Royal Guard, so that's it. The Royal Guard has no more units into supply, so it basically just becomes almost a regular unit. And now let's see what happens. Okay, Royal Guard controls the base, so now we're on 5-5. Crossman attacks the Royal Guard. The Berserker moves toward this base, and obviously if Elrond can flip this base, he will win. Okay, crossbowman moves on to the point. Let's see, I just want to go back for a second. I was thinking maybe the footman could have been deployed here, but I don't. He didn't have the footman at the right time. Okay, because now we have 2 footmen and crossmen and cavalry. So obviously Vancho can win with that. So he's just gonna capture a base. So the crossman controls this space, and that's it. Game over. Yeah, it was a good game. I think that one of the problems that Elrond had was that he had the pikemen in the bag for a very long time, and it was just messing up his game because he wasn't drawing the units that he needed. He probably wanted to deploy the pikemen in a forward base, but it might have been better to just deploy the pikemen early on one of the home bases and then focus on the other units that you have that are sort of engaged in combat. Yeah, it was a good game. I think that's it for now.